Ticket Volume brings you a Ron Muns Lifetime Achievement Award winner, an independent consultant, author, speaker, and founder of Edify ITSM. He's also served a 15-year term at HP and nearly 7 years at Anheuser-Busch. Welcome to Ticket Volume, news and information for improving IT experiences. I'm your host, Matt Barron, and this podcast is powered by InvGate, a global leader in IT service and asset management software. As you know, each week I chat with new leaders to share insights on service management, information technology, business, and this episode is no exception. Before we start though, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, all those things that everyone's telling you to do. But for now, let's begin. Welcome to Ticket Volume, Ken Wendle.
Hi. Good morning, Matt. How are you doing?
Great. Glad to have you on Ticket
Glad to
Volume.
hear that.
I was really glad to connect with you at Service Management World and finally get to meet you.
There we go. We met in person. Again, I thank you for all that you've helped me with there. So yeah, it was a great experience. It was a pleasure meeting you and catching up with old friends, making some new ones.
Exactly. Yes, you pointed me to some really good thought leaders in the industry. I can't wait to reach out to some of them, hopefully have them on this podcast if it fits their needs, because I don't want to just take time selfishly, because of course we are here to talk about value. And you've written on this subject. You've got a specific formula for value. So what is the value formula, Ken?
The value formula is basically an approach to those parts, those things we need to pay attention to understand our value and to maximize our value. So it was one of those little flashes that happened once that I thought, the word, I was focusing on the word value. And I thought, well, in order to really maximize value, we need to have a vision. We need to understand why we're doing what we're doing and to set that out there. So the vision comes first. And then it makes sense that if we're going to have a vision, that we align to that we focus our attention, our resources, our capabilities on that. And along the way, what are some things we can leverage to help us in that alignment, as well as what are some things that are unique to us as an organization or as individuals that, that support that. And then lastly, I thought, well, vision is important, alignment, leverage, uniqueness, all these things are important, but unless you execute and actually do it, no value is actually being delivered to anybody. So execution forms the foundation. So that's where it kind of came from, or that's what it is. I have a discussion on value, which I've always said is like, value is like the weather. Everybody talks about it, but nobody seems to want to do anything about it. And then also, I wrap up the information that I cover in the book with an area on pulling it together and keeping it together, because we don't want some of the parts. We want the sum of the parts. We want everything working and everything working together. So that's in a nutshell. That's what the value formula is about.
Got it. Okay. Since this is a video podcast, we'll put up the graphics so people can see the map of how you kind of lay that out. And what you don't realize when you're talking through it is that it's an acrostic. Value, and then the letters of value then provide the elements of it, the vision, the uniqueness, the leverage, the I'm sorry, I did that in the wrong order. I spelled it Vula.
Yeah, Vula. That works too.
But I love this topic because it's not something that we've talked a lot about on the podcast. It's not, we are very practical. We're very pragmatic. We're trying to give people probably a lot more of that execution layer than we are about vision and alignment.
Right.
Because of where we are. We're in service management. A lot of times we're serving the business. We're a shared service function. So what I want to know is where this came from. Like, how did you develop this? Where in your experience would you have found this useful?
Well, I've always, throughout my career, I've always thought in terms of, when I was invited to a meeting or when I was invited to go see a customer, how am I adding value to that engagement? What those connections, what sometimes is called the, moments of truth. So how do I add value there? And there was a quote by Albert Einstein that I read that he gave in an interview to a young man who asked him, what can I do to, and what can others do to, live a better life? And he said, focus on being a person of value, not a person of success. And he said that, people of value, they give more than they take. They want to leave the world a better place than they found it. And I thought, that's kind of what I have always striven to do, or strive to do. And not that it precludes success, because most of the people I've come across who are what I consider people of value are also successful. Maybe not, really, really hugely financially successful, but they stand out in their area of expertise because they do focus on value. So yeah, so that's where kind of the roots of it. Somebody asked me once how long it took me to write the book, and I said all my career. I mean, everything I experienced along the way kind of went into it. But once I sat down and started focusing on writing the book and putting the ideas down, probably took about 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I love that quote, that Albert Einstein. That's such a good perspective.
Yes.
Because a lot of times, and our culture rewards it, right? If you accomplish a great thing, you are seen as that accomplishment. You are seen as that person who accomplished it. But really, it always takes a team. It always takes a group of people either thinking about ideas or talking about ideas. And if you can be an altruist, if you can focus on that value, then you're going to see the same outcomes. You'll be just as successful as the people that you're surrounding yourself with and providing this advice for. So what a great story.
Yeah.
And for me, because we don't talk about this a lot on the podcast, this is really something where I see companies struggling. I've seen it in my consulting experience. I've seen it just randomly. We see it in Twitter right now. What is our North Star? What is our actual vision? What are we aiming for?
Right.
And a lot of companies right now are struggling to retain, attract, and keep employees because they don't have that vision. They don't have what I'll call the center of your graphic, the vision and the alignment.
Right.
And that's something that I always try to bring to my projects too, is helping people understand that, service management goals, for example, when you're setting those service management goals, they should align to the vision of the company, and your department goals should align to the vision of the company. Either your individual tasks and contributions should align to the value and vision of the company.
Yes.
And so this really is one of those things that you can take and learn about and read Ken's book, The Value Formula, because it will show you that value that you need to have so that your employees will feel inspired, so that they will understand how they're contributing to the mission of the company. Right.
So, I mean, one of the things recently someone pointed out to me, although that wasn't the intention in writing it, but it does make sense when I step back and look at the overall work, that it can serve as a model for governance as well. Because it really ultimately, when you think about an organization and its governance, it's not so much about control and, like keeping a tight rein on things, but more on, why do we exist as an organization? So that we begin to understand that, and then we organize and execute around our vision in support of our value to our stakeholders, employees, customers, our partners, our community. So it really is about this whole idea of putting everybody on board, because to not do that, you're wasting resources and you're kind of allowing it to dilute your value. So it does kind of help operate as a governance model as well.
Yeah. Yes. And beyond just extrapolating the idea, the concept of a pyramid that contributes to the value formula. In the book, you also identify different categories of these different aspects and how to think about them and different ways to explore them.
Right.
You called out specifically SWOT in uniqueness.
Yes.
That strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats.
Right.
Something that we leverage a lot of times in workshops. A lot of times this stuff kind of comes up I'm used to this stuff coming up during marketing discussions and business strategy discussions.
Right.
So how would you say that this differs from a business model canvas?
Well, okay. So first of all, I'm not an expert on business model canvases. I know enough about it to be dangerous. But the business model canvas, as my understanding, is that it's more of a like a hands-on tool that you can use to for strategic management, kind of a
Mhm.
template, if you will, that can be used to develop business models, document existing business models, create new ones. Um, and it comprises of these 9 elements, which I believe I mean like the key activities, key partners, resources, and so on. But I believe that the value formula can help populate a, business model canvas. So
Mhm.
that, for example, our key partners, when I talk about leverage, I talk about, who are some organizations that we can leverage. And a lot of times those are our providers, our key suppliers. They can provide us with training. They can provide us with connections with other organizations that have maybe leveraged their tool to a certain extent. So we can use what comes out of the value formula to again populate those areas within a business canvas. As we put it up on the wall and put post-it notes or mark it up with a marker. Um, and so one of the things that I've tried to do is kind of map the part of the value formula to a business model canvas as to where would that come from. Like alignment, for example, would come out of customer relationships or go into
Mhm.
customer relationships, understanding what our customers value and how do we shape our products, our offerings, our services to better align with them, which again enhances our customer relationship. We're meeting them at their need. So there's a lot of, I think, interplay. I try to make the value formula as agnostic to other things out there and to be able to not to take the place of something else, but maybe again help generate thoughts around that, maybe help populate that. So that's that. So yeah, I mean, in a comparison and contrasting type of mode.
Totally successful, Ben, because that's exactly the feeling that I get from the
Okay,
book.
good, good, all
It's
right.
it's almost like a way to draft the business model
Yes,
canvas.
yes,
It's higher level than that. It's a theoretical or philosophical approach to it.
yeah,
But
yeah,
then you look at that philosophy and you look at that theory, and now you can extrapolate the details.
yes,
It's those partners, it's
right,
those key activities that you're going to
right,
put on those. Um,
yeah,
and I really like how the book helps guide and explore those different topics so that you don't necessarily have to come with all the answers, right?
right, right.
And I can see myself, there are some leaders who I would like to give this book to now, looking
Yeah,
back, like,
we
hey,
can probably arrange that. But I think you and I talked when we were in Orlando together. That one of the things I want to focus on in the next year, because I've pulled things out of the book and put it into a workshop, which kind of goes beyond what I talk about in the work, and that's one of the things I really want to focus on in 2023 is to get some traction around the workshop, because if people read the book, there are questions in there, there are places to put your answers in the book itself. However, being human beings, we tend to think, well, I'll do that later, or you put the
Mhm.
book aside and then you get distracted by something else. So in a workshop environment, um, it allows me to kind of put hold people accountable. That
Mhm.
when we have the discussion, whether I or somebody else is facilitating it, we can hold people accountable and actually take some time in the workshop to just write some things down and then discuss them. Okay, well,
Yes.
how did you come up with that? How does that helpful? And each segment, from vision, from the discussion of value to vision, alignment, leverage, uniqueness, execution, and then pulling it together, keeping it together, they kind of feed into each other. So what we come out with in vision exercise, the session on that, feeds into the alignment. And when we come out with that alignment, feeds into like, okay, how would we leverage a person, an organization, a technology, a concept, an idea? And how do we find out what's unique about ourselves, and how does that support and align us to our vision? And then taking people through the steps of like what one or two things can you do in the next 6 months to a year that will be the game changer, that will make the biggest difference. So and then again, this idea of synergy, getting the team on board, getting people focused on aligning to that vision. So yeah, so I mean that's something I really want to see take off. A lot of people have read the book, a lot of great feedback. But again, I want to go beyond that and help people actually come out with, like marching orders, so to speak, that these are the things we can do to populate a business model canvas, or to feed into some other project or effort that they might be going through.
I love that. Yes, it's like a lock-in. You're not getting out until you come up with this vision.
Right, right.
And then, yeah, you can set your departmental goals from there. Like,
Mhm.
how are we going to message this in marketing? How are
Yes.
we going to go to market on this
Right.
for sales?
Yeah.
What operations need to be in place so that we can actually leverage our uniqueness?
Yes.
And what's funny to me, or in hindsight, it is when there is a good alignment to the vision. And I've worked at a lot of different companies as a consultant. I've been blessed and lucky enough to work at a lot of different companies. You can tell which teams have the vision set and are aligned to it.
Yes.
And not just because they're posted usually right on the corporate website, but also because people will, at the beginning of projects, list these things off.
Yes.
These are our values. This
Right.
is our mission.
Right.
This is our vision for the future of our customers and our company.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, there is very little more you can do to inspire me than to put that stuff at the beginning of a project or a kickoff, because it reminds you we're here for a greater purpose.
Right. Right.
And it's not always revenue tied. Like, of course, great, we're making money, but that's not what always inspires people to do
Right.
these great projects and
Yes.
go through the rigor of organizational change to bring about true behavioral change. So
Yes.
it's that vision has so much more power than people give it. And that is really why I think there's so much value in sharing this. So
Yeah.
that's my thought on that.
Good thoughts.
I also really like how you start off with a quote. This one really struck home and made me read even more. If you don't like change, you're
Yes.
going to like irrelevance even less.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
love that. And that's kind of what I'm trying to get to with that story, is that having this vision, having the ability to change aligned to a vision keeps you relevant.
Yes.
It keeps you attracting talent. It keeps your talent on board because
Right.
they want to see you reach this mission, reach this vision, right?
Right. Yeah. That really applies. I think a lot of organizations, we talk about the changes that are going through right now, and a lot of times, if you don't embrace some of these things, you're going to be kind of like put in a disadvantage. And that, because I am mostly retired, there is a degree of irrelevance that I'm looking for personally, but again, I think the concepts and the ideas that I'm promoting around value and the value formula is relevant. It's very important, I think, for a lot of organizations, and so that's why I stay engaged with that, because that's still a very important part of my of why I get up in the morning, why I do what I do. So yeah.
Yes. So if you're a leader looking for a way to get employees inspired and to align to a vision, check out the value formula. And if you're an employee or a director at a company and you're struggling to communicate the vision, you're struggling to help your teams understand how they're contributing to the greater picture, definitely check out the value formula by Ken Wendle. Ken, where can people connect with you and learn more?
So my website, which is, it's not a brilliant website, but it's a good website. It's Edify, EDIFY ITSM, all one word, Edify ITSM.com. There's information about the book, where to get it, how to get it. Most of the book sales I have been through Kindle. So if you go to Amazon, search on Ken Wendle, KEN space WENDLE, it'll take you right to my book. I'm proud to say that up to now, all of the reviews have been 5 stars from people that I either know or have never met in my life, and that's always gratifying. Also on my website is a way to contact me, and I welcome emails, phone calls if I'm available. You can set up a time to just do a free time to talk with me and get some ideas, and then also how to get a paperback copy of the book like you have there. I'm also on LinkedIn, so if you look for Ken Wendle on LinkedIn, you're going to find me there. also my contact information. So I think that's how you and I got connected first off, is through LinkedIn. So yeah.
Yes,
Great.
and you keep calling people in my network people of value. I love that little series that you're doing on there, giving people the award. It's another shiny thing that really matters.
Yeah. Well, hats off to Paul there. But yeah, that's something that kind of, Paul inspired that. But I thought, there are a lot of people that have influenced my career and my life over the years. And as again, as I become more and more mostly retired, I want to just basically take a couple of minutes to tell them why they're important to me and why they've been such a person of value in my life. So yeah, just a little acknowledgement. I'm obviously not some organization that's like providing a Nobel Prize or anything of that nature, but it is something that I think is important to me, and the people that I've given that hats off to have seemed to appreciate it. So it's always, and I think that's an important element of anything, is showing appreciation.
On that note, I appreciate you joining us on Ticket Volume today, Ken.
I appreciate being invited, and it was a lot of fun talking with you.
And to our audience, thanks for listening to this episode. We've got a bunch more out there, over 30 in the library, and more to come. There's always new ones every week. So make sure you subscribe to receive an alert when there's new ones. You can also engage with us. Tell us what you want to hear. What do you want to learn about? Leave a comment on any of our stuff. Send me a DM. You can email matt@ticketvolume.com. And don't forget to leave feedback. We got our first 5-star review on Apple Podcasts this week, and that really helps drive the algorithm to suggest us to more people. So this podcast is brought to you by InvGate, the all-in-one IT service and asset management system that helps organizations with world-class IT support teams. If you're looking for a solution to build your help desk without the headaches of year-long implementations, you're going to love InvGate. In fact, IT teams from NASA, Toyota, and McDonald's use InvGate to manage requests, automate workflows, and centralize inventory so they can focus on delivering better service. Because remember, good service is good business.